Welcome to the 815 Exchange. I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 for the very first time, for the very first episode of the 815 Exchange. I'm very excited to be finally able to bring this out and produce this and give this out to the world. A lot of thoughts, a lot of work has been put in. And yeah, I'm very excited to finally be doing the first episode of the 815 Exchange. To be honest, this is the second time I have tried this. First episode, tried this last week, had a lot of technical difficulties. And hopefully we've got all that straight. And by the time you see this, everything is good and ready to go. But yeah, did that, had a whole show and everything. There will probably be a lot of water breaks, so Deer Park, if you're seeing this, please sponsor me. Not that you're going to see this, but Deer Park, go ahead, make that move. I want to start off with what the content of this podcast is going to be about. It's going to be mostly a sports-based podcast. A lot of what we talk about, a lot of what I talk about, a lot of what me and guests or my friends talk about on this podcast or this show, for if you're watching this on YouTube, is going to be sports-based, whether that's the NFL, college football, MMA, so on and so forth. My biggest love in life is sports. I grew up around it, and I've been involved with it since I was young. It's been pretty much the one consistency in my life so far, so that's what the majority of this is going to be. However, I'm a pretty versatile person as you get to know me. I have a lot of different interests. I'm in a lot of different avenues. So music and film will definitely be talked about. Stuff in society. This is not going to be a political podcast, I guess, so to speak. But stuff in pop culture. But yeah, if there's something, I guess, happening in the world that you guys want to hear me talk about that might be slightly political or off what we normally talk about, I will absolutely do that. You guys just let me know. And we'll do that. Again, I want this to be an exchange of communication between me, the podcaster, me, the interviewer, or me just reporting or recapping news or giving you my opinion. I want to have the exchange of information and communication between me and you, the viewer. I think that's very important. Communication has been somewhat lost, I think, in the world, and it's caused us a lot of problems. So having this as a channel of communication, of you telling me what you want to see, or you giving me an opinion or a thought you want me to come and talk about on the show, on the podcast, is highly, highly, highly encouraged and highly recommended. Even on this episode, you tell me what you want to see setup-wise or content-wise, and let me know for the next episode. I'll probably reiterate that multiple times throughout this episode. Now, for this thing right here, this beautiful, colorful, shining, of course, glamorous, highly expensive, spin to win, wheel. I'm just going to call it the wheel. This is pretty much, I'm going to put all of the topics for today's episode on the wheel, and I'll spin it. And whichever topic it lands on, like right now it's currently on other sports, I'm going to spin it again for the first topic. And that's what I'll go into, and then we'll just do that for each section. I think that'll help make transitions easier and add something to the podcast, add something to the show, make it a little different, make it more interesting for you. But you let me know. And with all that said, I believe I'm going to take my first spin of the wheel, and we're going to get this going. Ooh, perfect. So, the first topic here on the 815 Exchange on today's episode, episode 1, is going to be college football. Really the big story, of course, is on whether we're even going to have college football this season. The Power 5 commissioners reportedly have met yesterday. This is a Monday in which I'm recording this, so I think it was Sunday, August the 9th, when they met. Each commissioner from the Power 5 conferences on whether they're even going to have a season, whether it's safe to have a season, And then later on that day, I believe it was last night, Trevor Lawrence spearheaded, though it's been going on for a couple weeks. Trevor Lawrence and then Justin Fields showed in. So the two faces, I think, really of not just college football, but college sports in general, started or really championed the hashtag We Want to Play campaign on Twitter and on Instagram and other social media platforms, making it pretty obvious that the players want to play, and also joined with and made a joint statement, if I can pull it up really fast, made a joint statement with the Pac-12 and Big 12 players that had signed the petition or the campaign 2 weeks ago that they plan on sitting out if they were unfairly, I guess, how do I word this? The right precautions weren't, and it wasn't safe enough for them to play football. The hashtag We Are United campaign that had started a couple weeks ago. They teamed up last night and came to a whole. I have their list of demands that they posted. We all want to play football this season. Establish universal mandated health and safety procedures and protocols to protect college athletes against COVID-19 among all conferences through the NCAA. Give players the opportunity to opt out and respect their decision. Guarantee eligibility whether a player chooses to play the season or not. And use our voices to establish open communication and trust between players and officials. Ultimately, to create a college football players association. That was the demands that they posted, I believe, this morning and last night, of course, by Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, posted by a couple other players. As the time went on, I feel like all of those demands were pretty reasonable, a lot more reasonable than the movement that was made earlier from the Pac-12 players, which again had some fair stuff, and some of that stuff is included in the new movement, in the new campaign. But I feel like this one's a much more reasonable option, and even though I highly doubt it, and I'll get to that in a few moments actually, I highly doubt that the actual commissioners, the leadership, is going to listen. I wish they would, because I feel like the youth needs to either have their voice heard. I think the players should have a say in whether, just as players are opting out and having a say on them not being comfortable, the players should have a say in whether they are comfortable, whether they believe that the right precautions are being taken to where it is safe for them to play football, or whether they want to play football or when they want to play football. I feel like they should have a say as they are active participants. The biggest obstacle in that is going to be the player union, because there's been a lot of talk about making sure that college sports are still amateur, and that they stay amateur and they stay collegiate sports, and that the players aren't getting paid and all of that stuff. So I'm not sure if the union is going to be accepted. I highly doubt if it will be, if anything on that list is accepted. But I don't think they're out of line by recommending and pushing for that. I think they should have a say, because like I said, they're active participants, and it's time. I'm pretty much on the board of college athletes, though I do understand that they are on scholarship and they're having their education paid. Though it'd be difficult to find kind of like a flat rate to make it fair across all FBS, so you don't have the blue bloods like Clemson and Ohio State and Alabama who are able to pay players more and play players like significantly more than UNC Charlotte or Florida Atlantic or an FCS school. If they can find a way to make that level, I'm all for college athletes getting paid. So that's the big news with college football. The Big Ten, there's a report that the Big Ten is going to cancel football. Nothing official yet as of now, but Dan Patrick reported that the Big Ten is looking to cancel. He also said in that report that the Pac-12 is also looking to join them probably in canceling football for the fall. The Big 12 and I believe the ACC are on the fence, and the SEC are the only ones that seem to want to play football or are on board. They're looking for other conferences to join them.
Motion detected at the front door.
Are looking for other conferences to join them, and we'll see if that happens. But yep, that's the college football roundup. So water break as I spin the wheel once again. All right, the NHL. The NHL is the second topic here. Really brief. The biggest news, Toronto and Columbus had, I believe, Game 5 it was yesterday. Game 4, Toronto, led by superstar Austin Matthews, made a grand comeback to push the game to a Game 5. For those not following the NHL, because of the playoff format, because of Corona and how they're doing it. Also, special shout out because they're doing a great job with the way they've got their bubble organized and how they've got that set up. Similar to the NBA, they haven't had any COVID cases in a while, so commend the officials up there, Commissioner Gary Bettman, and all the players for following protocols, all the staff for following protocols, so hockey fans and sports fans are able to have some entertainment, are able to see hockey. But yeah, back to Toronto versus Columbus. Toronto made a grand comeback, and then in Game 5 got completely shut down by the Blue Jackets, 3-0. In typical Toronto fashion, ripping Maple Leafs fans' hearts out once again. However, maybe if any silver lining for fans of teams that got eliminated in this kind of qualifying round. Round 1 starts, I believe, tomorrow. Is that the consensus number 1 prospect, Alexis Lafreniere, his lottery is tonight. I believe at 6 Eastern is when, so you'll probably know who has the number 1 pick and who's won the Alexis Lafreniere sweepstakes by the time you hear this. But again, for those not following, the way the NHL set up the draft lottery was kind of weird this year. All the teams that didn't make the playoffs in phase 1 of the lottery went through, had the regular lottery system, but they only filled up spaces in slots 2 to, I think, 8. So they left, for some reason, not for the worst teams in the league, but for the teams that just didn't make it, have a shot at the number 1 overall pick, which I really don't understand. So the slots 2 through 8 are selected already in place, but every team that was eliminated has a 12.5% chance of getting the number 1 overall pick. So that includes Edmonton, New York, Pittsburgh, Toronto, Nashville, Minnesota, Florida. NHL fans, I know they've had some suspicious activities, similar once again to the NBA with the lottery in the past. Edmonton has the best player in the world, and they're notorious for getting these picks. Alexis Lafreniere with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, who is the best player in the world, would be ridiculous. New York is the big market, so kind of similar with Toronto, big market. Maybe the NHL goes that direction. Another interesting scenario is Pittsburgh winning, and then they go from all-time great player to all-time great player to potential all-time great player in Mario Lemieux, Sidney Crosby, and then Alexis Lafreniere. With, I guess, Evgeny Malkin, because he'd be the franchise's best player just about everywhere else. They've had a run of great top picks, so if they get Lafreniere, I think that'd be pretty interesting. But that's pretty much all of the NHL news, so we'll go back to the wheel. I'll take a water break. All right, so a little detour from the sports world as I get into music and film. Let's see what I have. Last Chance U came out. I haven't gotten to watch it yet. This is the last season of football before they go to basketball. I've been a big fan. A lot of classic moments, a lot of great entertainment has been provided from Last Chance U. So hopefully sometime this week I can get to watching that new season with, I think, Laney College is where they're at this year. So none of the theatrics of Coach Jason Brown and his Cadillacs at Independence. So new school, last season of football. I've heard it was pretty good, so that should be pretty interesting. If I do watch it, I'll probably talk about it next episode or in the episodes upcoming. In film, we have Mulan has been moved to Disney Plus. That movie's been delayed a couple times, of course, because of COVID and the situations we've had in modern times. I'm very interested to see what happens there and how Mulan does. I know there's protests going on because of what the lead actress did. People are going to protest the movie anyway. But yeah, I'm very interested to see if more film companies or more production companies go this way of releasing it onto these streaming platforms for an elevated price. I believe it's $30 to watch Mulan on Disney Plus when it's released. I'm wondering if because of Corona and people not wanting to further delay or push into what's going to be a very crowded 2021 movie season, if they'll just start releasing them on these streaming platforms and seeing how they sell and how well they can do and if they can turn a profit that way. In the music side, Juice WRLD and The Weeknd's highly anticipated collaboration Smile released. I thought it was pretty good. It got added to the playlist. Once again, rest in peace, Juice. I've been listening to his album and, of course, Pop Smoke's the past couple weeks. Been listening to a lot of that. Enjoyed both of those. Again, rest in peace to them. The Rod Wave's deluxe album came out. I'm going to be honest, I have not joined the Rod wave. No pun intended. Nothing against him. Everything I've listened to him so far has been pretty good. But I guess I'm just lacking, to be honest. Maybe eventually. Maybe if that's something you want me to see. Maybe I do like a reaction video or something on YouTube. Live reaction to Rod Wave's album. I know a lot of my friends have enjoyed it. Everybody was posting about it. So, if you haven't, I'd probably highly recommend it at my friend's request. So yeah, that's music and film. Spin the wheel. Alright, college basketball, another really brief one. Biggest news in college basketball, besides on whether we're even going to have a season of college basketball, similar to college football and all fall sports, 5-star Jalen Warley committed to Florida State, which as a result has given Florida State the number one recruiting class in the class of 2021. Though it is kind of early, I guess. A lot of top guys, Patrick Baldwin, Chet Holmgren, Michael Foster, haven't made really decisions yet about what they're going to do. Leonard Hamilton has been doing a lot of work, though. I have to commend Florida State and Hamilton and the coaching staff. They've really picked it up, it seems, the past couple of years on the recruiting trail, along with getting the results in the ACC and being contenders and seemingly getting better year to year to year. They've done a great job building a culture there, building an identity, and it's paying off. It's paying off in a big way for Hamilton. It's paying in a big way for Florida State fans. They were, technically speaking, I guess, ACC champions last year. Of course, the ACC tournament was cut short because of coronavirus, but they were the number one seed. And what was really a crazy year for college basketball last year. But, yeah, number one recruiting class of Florida State. We'll see if they can hang on to it. I know they caught a couple of the other high-level 5-star guys that are much interested. I've heard stuff about Trevor Kills. And, yeah, so shout out to Leonard Hamilton. Shout out to all you Florida State fans. As I'll spin again. Can we get a different one? There we go. I'm going to cut all of that out, but because of the nature of this, it took me about 6 spins to finally get a new one. Champions League. I got a lot to talk about with Champions League. Soccer is probably the sport I've actually watched, besides, I guess, the NBA. Because, well, they're the only things going on, but it's probably the sport I've watched the most of the past couple weeks. Of course, the biggest event, or at least my favorite, well, I guess you can say it's the biggest event, besides the World Cup in soccer, is the Champions League, and it's ongoing all August. So, if you're looking to see the best of the best play, you're looking to get into European soccer, learn some more about that. You got a lot of the great matchups, a lot of great teams going against each other right now. So be on the lookout for that if you're trying to get interested in soccer or for my European football. But into my Champions League recap, Olympic Lyon beat Juventus on away goals despite Ronaldo's heroics. As a result of this, their manager, Maurizio Sarri, was fired for Andrea Pirlo, the Italian legend, the Juventus legend, the AC Milan legend, really just a football legend. One of the best midfielders of all time. He was actually signed about a week ago. Juventus signed him to manage their U23 team, and I was like, all right. Because this tends to happen a lot where you have former great players transition into managing. It happens pretty much in almost all sports, but I see it a lot in soccer. And I thought they were going to do a smooth little transition. He starts off with the U23s. They'll probably let him get a couple years of experience, but nope. Sarri's out. Pirlo right in. Lyon did just enough, despite actually losing the second leg, 2-1. We're able to fend off Cristiano Ronaldo. Juventus needs a big transfer window. Dybala and Ronaldo, I think I'm very interested to see Pirlo's managing style and see how he deals with having Dybala and Ronaldo in the squad and what positions he puts them in and all that type of stuff. And what tactics he's used. Because Sarri played a really boring style of soccer. It wasn't a very effective style. I guess even though Juventus won the league and won Serie A, any team with Cristiano Ronaldo, who any soccer fan, any football fan will tell you, Cristiano Ronaldo, something about that Champions League music when they go through on the intros, he turns into a different beast. Cristiano Ronaldo in the Champions League is one of the most dangerous people in the world, up there with Mike Tyson in general, playoff LeBron, Bubble TJ Warren, John Wick, and of course Batman with Prep Time. Ronaldo's one of the most dangerous people on the planet in the Champions League. And yeah, any team with him, one of the greatest players of all time, and still one of the best players, you can argue the best, probably the second best, at least top 3 players on the planet. You should be contending, similar to Real Madrid. And they really just didn't have a roster. They're dealing with a lot of players getting over 30. And I think a big transfer window for Juventus is needed. Bringing Pirlo in. They do have Arthur from Barcelona, a young, rising star in the midfield. I think that's a great pickup for them. But they need a little bit more. Bring some more guys in. Bring some fresh legs in. And I think that really determines how they'll do in Europe. And in Italy, especially with Milan and Inter Milan rising again and starting to build squads that are competitive. Napoli contended for the title. Speaking of Napoli, they also played in the Champions League this past week. Played Barcelona, however, Lionel Messi did Messi stuff. And Napoli just played really sloppy. Definitely wasn't their best game. And Messi and Barca advanced. I thought it could have been a potential trap game for them, but because of Barca hasn't been the best version of Barca a lot of times this year. Really fumbled the bag in La Liga. They were leading Real Madrid and then filed Valverde, and then Messi's frustrations with him pretty much having to carry the team. Though they've had some bright spots such as Ansu Fati, the 17-year-old phenom. It hasn't been the greatest year to be a Barca fan and really be a Barca player. However, if they can play the way they did last week against Napoli, then ain't no telling. Anything can happen in the Champions League, as we know. Man City beats Real Madrid. Really do, even though they were ahead on aggregate prior to this, and Gabriel Jesus and Raheem Sterling had phenomenal games. Really, Man City beat Real Madrid due to Rafael Varane, who's normally one of the best center backs in the game. Normally one of the best in world football. Absolute disaster class. He was awful. Mistake after mistake after mistake. Again, I think Real Madrid's going to be fine. They got a really bright future. I'm sure Varane will be fine. Everybody's got games like this. Unfortunately, he chose a pretty bad time to have an awful game like this. But Man City advances. The last game that happened last week was Bayern absolutely smoking, obliterating Chelsea 7-1 on aggregate. I think the game went 4-1. Robert Lewandowski is playing like he is the best player on the planet right now. If the Ballon d'Or, which I don't know why it was. I mean, I know why it was because they said there wasn't enough matches played. But, I mean, if the Ballon d'Or had not been canceled, Robert Lewandowski, the Polish striker, the best striker probably on the planet, he absolutely would be taking it home. He's been phenomenal this year. Chelsea had none for him. Of course, Chelsea dealing with Christian Pulisic, who has been their best player since the restart. Shout out to all my Americans. We finally got one, it seems, if he can stay healthy. Please let him stay healthy. Pulisic was their best player every time he left the field or in the games which he didn't play, besides the FA Cup semifinal versus Man United. Chelsea just wasn't the same team. They weren't that effective, and they struggled. And they struggled again against Bayern, to really nobody's surprise. Bayern is probably my favorite to win the entire Champions League, so I wasn't surprised by the result. This week in the Champions League, we finally get the quarterfinals. The two games that come up, I guess, before I probably do the next episode of this are PSG versus Atlanta, and Red Bull Leipzig versus Atletico Madrid. Kylian Mbappe, the best young player on the planet, is then with a sprained ankle. A lot of questions about whether he might be back. I don't think he is. I think he'll still be on that 5 to 4 week timeline that they originally had him on. Even without him, he still got Neymar. Mauro Icardi's great. PSG should have enough. Atlanta has been the Cinderella team of the Champions League so far, but PSG should be able to handle business and get it done. I expect, especially since it's one leg, they got to go in there. Can't really make any mistakes. Can't underestimate them. But I do think PSG advances. Leipzig versus Atletico. Atletico's demon CR7 and Real Madrid. Both are eliminated, so finally some hope for Atletico Madrid fans. Leipzig dealing with the fact that their best player, Timo Werner, has transferred over to Chelsea and will be playing on Stamford Bridge from now on. So without him, he was their leading goal scorer. He was their leading assist man. I don't really expect them to, contend with Atletico. I got Atletico advancing, and should be an interesting week in the Champions League. Couple games after that, but I'll probably get on that the next episode. All right, here we go. The MLB.
Motion detected at the front door.
Crazy. All right, back to the show. All right, so the MLB, we have The biggest story, Fernando Tatis. Well, it's not really the biggest story, but it's the biggest story, I guess, in my interest. Fernando Tatis Jr. of the San Diego Padres has been on an absolute rampage. 8 home runs, 4-game home run streak. Padres have won 3 straight. He's one of the best players, one of the best shortstops in baseball already. He's only in year 2. He's only 21. Baseball's got a really bright future with him, Acuna, Gleyber Torres. I could go on really forever. There's been a great youth movement in the MLB. Hopefully that's able to attract some of the younger fans. I know they haven't really been able to tap into those bases and those demographics, but I think guys like Tatis that are 5-tool players and can do a little bit of everything and play an exciting brand of baseball are good for the sports. The man that had a 4 home run streak of games previously in the season, which is Aaron Judge. Him and the Yankees currently on a 3-game skid after they started off the season 7-1. We're the top team in the MLB, but as of late, got swept by the Rays. Even though one of the games versus the Rays was postponed because of rain, and lost one before that in the previous series. A little slump for the Yankees. We'll see if they can get back to the form they were in before. Judge again playing awesome, tied for the lead in home runs, possible MVP candidate. More good news for the MLB and for baseball fans. No real news with COVID or any COVID cases. They had the 2 breakouts, I believe, last week and the week before with the Marlins and the Cardinals. It was a really big deal. Looked like Manfred was almost ready to hit the panic button. Type of year. Not even the type of seasons we've had so far, but the year we've had, the more, I guess, entertainment, the more joy we can bring to people. And the MLB, of course, brings joy and excitement to baseball fans and sports fans. The more we can see of that, the better. Also, that spells for positive news for sports like the NFL or college football if they decide, again, that's probably going to be decided in the next day or two, on whether they're able to do it, because the MLB is in a tough situation. They couldn't do a bubble because of the nature. There's no real place where there's a bunch of fields and locations where you can have all the players and staff, so they were unable to do a bubble like the NHL and the NBA. So if they're able to manage it, big ups to them, big kudos. Hope they can. And yeah. As the last topic of today and the main events for the first episode, Water Break, Deer Park, sponsor me, of the first episode of the 815 Exchange is the NBA. It's pretty much been the main event of the sports world, like I just said. I start off with, of course, Damian Lillard, who had a 51 piece against the Sixers, I believe, yesterday. Lillard's been going crazy. Honestly, I'm trying to think. I guess technically, but nah. Damian Lillard's probably the best point guard in the league right now. I'm struggling to think. I know Steph is hurt. And I think that's typically who everybody would have as number 1. LeBron technically plays point guard, but LeBron's a point forward, if anything. But yeah, Dame's going crazy. Really pushing the Blazers towards that 8th spot. I'll get to the 8th spot a little bit later on. That's what I want to focus on when I'm talking about the NBA today. Yeah, Dame's on a rampage. He had the very, very, very entertaining episode with the Clippers. Though that was his one, I guess, bad game, so to speak, you could say. He missed the 2 clutch free throws against the Clippers. Had the incident on social media with Pat Bev and PG. The wives got involved. It was a big fiasco. Great entertainment for us. Almost gave Matisse Thybulle and JaVale McGee some vlog footage, I guess, if Dame would have pulled up. I'd have been all for it. I would have probably took Dame in that altercation, though. Sorry to all my Clippers fans. I just feel like Dame probably about it. The other couple different players are having big bubble seasons, so to speak, or seasons before the playoffs. Austin Rivers scored 40 yesterday for the Rockets. That was out of nowhere. Another player that's been out of nowhere is the bubble MVP, and like I mentioned earlier, one of the most dangerous men on the planet right now, TJ Warren, who seems to think he's back at NC State because he's giving everybody 30 pieces. Everybody 30 pieces. The only team he hasn't given a 30 piece are the Phoenix Suns, and he still had a double-double in that game. Had 16 and 11. So it wasn't even really a bad game for him. But he's playing out of his mind, and that spells well for the Pacers. If they can get him and Oladipo, Sabonis has been great this year. Pacers might be able to make some noise, man. They just took out the Lakers, which is the top team, I think, bar the Bucks in the league right now, at least for the regular season. So, yeah, shout out to TJ Warren. Shout out to my NC State fans, because he's gone crazy. Also, another player just having a phenomenal bubble, to really nobody's surprise in this case, is Luka Doncic. He had 34, 14, and 19 in overtime versus the Bucks yesterday. He's had a couple 40 pieces, and he's clinched the triple-double crown for this year. I think he's at 17, but yeah, I think Luka is one of them, as everybody. I don't want to call him top 5 yet, because there's a lot of players. I feel like it'd be very easy, though, to say he's top 5. He's absolutely a top 10 player. He's going to be a top 5 player sooner, much sooner than later. If the Mavs can get him and KP a couple more pieces, they're definitely going to be one to watch in the future. Definitely going to be championship contenders, just because Luka he's a monster. Especially offensively. Excellent playmaker. We all know he can shoot, he can score, and then he's a triple-double threat. He can rebound. Like I said, great playmaking ability. He can score. So, big game against the Bucks, who I'm not really sold on at all. I know a lot of people have them as championship contenders solely because of Giannis, but I'll probably address this on another episode. I don't see it with the Bucks. They need a second option. I'm not sure if Chris Middleton is that guy. But back to my main focus for the NBA for this episode, and that's the AFC, which is currently held by the Memphis Grizzlies and Ja Morant. The Pelicans and the Kings were just eliminated yesterday. JJ Redick, who has not had a losing series in... I was thinking about this. I wonder when's the last time JJ Redick has had a losing season. Not even just breaking his playoff streak, which he hadn't missed the playoffs his entire NBA career. But I wonder when's the last time he's even been part of a losing season. Because he's made the playoffs every year in the NBA. Typically, if you make the playoffs, you got a winning record. I'm pretty sure. I haven't checked. I might go back and check. But I'm willing to bet that every team he's been on has had a winning record. And then, before that, for those of y'all that know, he was a legend at Duke. National championships. So, he was winning there. And then if he got to Duke, that means he was a beast in high school. I mean, he's an NBA player. So, he was a beast in high school. So he probably wasn't losing many games then. So I wonder when's the last time, or if he's ever had a losing season in basketball in his life. But yeah, the Pelicans just got eliminated, much to the sadness and tears of Adam Silver in the NBA. No Zion in the playoffs. I know they were looking much forward to marketing that after they put just about every single Pelicans game in primetime this year. The Kings continue to pay for not drafting Luka and instead drafting Marvin Bagley. So with that said, the AFC seed is down to the Memphis Grizzlies, the Portland Trailblazers, the San Antonio Spurs, and of course, the hottest team in the bubble, the only undefeated team in the bubble, with another player that's going absolutely crazy in Devin Booker, the Phoenix Suns. Everybody, I think the Suns have 3 games left, but everybody else has about 2 games left. It's very interesting, very interesting. I think the Blazers are only like a half game back or so. I think they're going to take it. I think Dame's going to be able to lift them. They got it. I mean, and I think that's going to be a very interesting first round series for the Lakers. Not that if I'm a Laker fan, I wouldn't hit the panic button. I wouldn't be in my feelings yet. Even though the Lakers haven't been their best so far in the bubble, I think they're still trying to gel with. They lost Avery Bradley, had to bring in JR and Deion Waiters, and Vogel and LeBron and AD, trying to find those lineups and get the chemistry back. I wouldn't really hit the panic button. I think everybody's kind of going to do that, except for the Suns, have been perfect, as you can tell by the record. Booker, Ayton have been a dynamic duo. Book, of course, hit that great game winner against the Clippers. I think they'll roll with this momentum. I think it's going to be a big momentum game late here and as we get into the playoffs. I think that's really going to help determine some of the results here more than it usually does. I think momentum and how you've been playing lately, how have you been doing for me lately, is going to be a much bigger factor than it usually is because of the nature of how the playoffs are going to be done, how the season has been concluded. I would say the Blazers are going to edge out the Grizzlies and the Suns for the 8th spot. Like I said, Dame's just been going crazy. The Grizzlies have been struggling. The Spurs have been all right, but I think I can very much so see the Suns keeping that momentum and passing them, but I don't know if the Suns are going to be... I don't see the Suns being able to keep the momentum and... They're not going to be able to catch up to the Blazers in time. The Blazers are too hot. Dame is too hot. And yeah, if I had to choose an 8th seed, I think it's going to be a Blazers. I think him, McCollum, Nurkic, they're going to be able to get it done. However, please go ahead below and let me know who you think. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to be the 8th seed. And that about covers everything for the first episode. I want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you for watching. If you are watching this on YouTube, you know the whole drill probably by now. Like, share, subscribe. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever I've posted the audio version, please give me feedback, DM me. I'll put the social media links for the podcast and for myself. Probably pop it up on the video. It'll be in the description on YouTube. But yeah, that about covers it. I guess to end off, shout out to Colin Morikawa. He won the PGA Championship at 23. That's great to see for all my golf fans. Love to see youth do a good job in any sport, show that sports have a great future. He's one of the rising stars, I think, in the sport. And for, I guess, all my lacrosse fans, the Whip Snakes beat the Chaos in the PLL to go back-to-back. Shout out to Rabel and them. I'm very surprised that league has done as well as it did. But again, the more sports, the better. But that about covers it. Once again, thank you for listening. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And of course, please do tell me what you want to hear me talk about in the future. Tell me what you want me to do content-wise. If you have any suggestions, feedback, all of that will be put into consideration. But for now, Ocho, signing off.